I am surrounded by Vox-type amplifiers, but which one sounds the best?
There's only one way to find out.
Now, I'm going to do a lot of waffling at the beginning of this video, so if you just want to get to the sound examples, I will leave some timestamps in the description below. Just wanted to mention very briefly as well, I have done a speaker shootout with a bunch of different speakers through this Vox here, so check that video out. I'll leave the link in the description below. I will probably also include a link at the end of this video. But just to do a rundown on what we have, first of all, we have a Vox AC30 from 2002. This is the Korg era version, highly regarded by many. Behind me at the back is a Vox AC15 hand-wired. Over here is a Vox AC30 hand-wired head. And I've also thrown in a Victory copper, which is also a great option. So as you could probably tell, I love Vox amps. And I should start by saying there is not a bad sounding one in this bunch. They all have their own unique character, and some of them are going to work better for some things. I always knew I wanted a Vox amp. I'm a big fan of the Vox sound. I'm very much into that sort of clean and spanky tone that you can get from a Vox. But I also wanted something that could take pedals really well. Now, this all started with the Victory copper. This was the first one that I bought. Ooh. Now, I actually started with a Victory V40 Deluxe because I wanted something relatively loud and something that could take pedals really well. But I found it was lacking a little bit of that spanky high top end that I've been looking for. So when this came out, I got really, really excited. And it also has a bunch of options that a lot of Vox amps don't have. For example, this one has a mid control. It has a couple of switches for bass and mid boosts or cuts. It has reverb, has a master volume. It also has a switch where you can switch it from 35 watts in its full wattage mode down to 15, which is a useful feature. I always ended up using it in the 35 watt mode anyway. It also has an effects loop. I don't really use the effects loop, but it's nice to know that it's there. Might be useful for you. Now, after I spent some time with this, I decided I wanted to go deeper down the Vox rabbit hole. And the first Vox that I actually bought was the one right behind me, the Vox AC15 hand-wired. This gets fantastic tones at a reasonable volume as well. At the time as well, I was trying a bunch of regular Vox AC15s. And I actually had a chance to try this one against one of the normal Vox AC15s in person. And this one, in my opinion, absolutely stole the show. That is to say, there's nothing wrong with the regular Vox AC15. Sounds fantastic. But if you're thinking about getting a Vox AC15 and you get the opportunity to try one of these, please do. Because they do sound amazing. This one is probably my favourite one out of the bunch. Oh, tricky. They all sound great. I may change my mind after this video. After I'd spent some time with the Vox AC15, I then wanted to hear what the AC30 sounded like. And again, I've tried out a bunch of different AC30s, some of the modern ones, some of the ones from the early 90s, which were the reissues of the 60s model for their 30th anniversary. Haven't tried out an old Vox yet. Would love to hear one, not sure I can justify the expense. Plus it would probably need a lot of maintenance if I were to use it regularly. I'm also really excited for the hand-wired ones that are hopefully coming out this year as well. But of all of the AC30s that I've tried, this one was my favourite one. And like I mentioned earlier, this is a model from 2002 when Korg took over Vox, and these were produced from 1994 until 2004. And they are definitely highly regarded amongst Vox players. And finally, because I loved the sound of the hand-wired AC15 so much, I decided to buy an AC30 hand-wired head as well, which also sounds amazing and has the same features as the Vox AC15 hand-wired. So they all have slightly different features as well. I've been through the controls on the copper. On the AC15 and the AC30, we have, let's see if I can get this right, master volume, global tone cut, 2 channels, normal channel, and a top boost channel. There is also a bright switch on the normal channel. The normal channel just features one gain control, or one volume. The top boost channel has a volume control or gain control, bass and treble. And we're going to be going into the top boost channel of each of these amps. The other thing to say about the hand-wired models is the AC15 is switchable from 15 watts to 7.5 watts, which is useful. And the AC30 head is switchable from 30 to 15 watts as well. We're going to be listening to the AC15 in its full 15 watts and the AC30 in its full 30 watts. Now with the AC30 TB from 2002, we have 3 different channels based on the classic channels of the old Voxes. We have the Brilliant channel, which is basically the top boost channel. We have a normal channel and we have a vibrato channel. Similar controls, and we're going to be going into the Brilliant channel or the top boost channel. And the top boost channel also has a volume or gain control, a bass and a treble control. The only difference with this one is its non-master volume, but it does have a global tone cut. Might be something worth considering, but you can get an attenuator to go between the amplifier and the speakers, which is useful. So we're going to be listening to all of the Vox amps in the top boost channel with the master volume all the way up and the tone cut rolled off, so no treble cut at all. Similarly, with the copper, we're going to be listening to it with the master volume pretty much all the way up and the tone control turned all the way up as well. And we're going to be listening to all of the amps through exactly the same speakers. We're going to be using the Alnico Blues that I've got loaded in the Vox AC30 TB. We will also have a listen to the Vox AC15 with its own internal Alnico Blue, just for a comparison. In terms of gain structure, I'm going to be using the gain just on the amps. I might add in a boost pedal every now and again, and if I do, I will mention it in the description below. I did say at the beginning which one is going to sound the best, but that's not really the point of the video. It's only which one sounds good to you and which one is going to work for you. They all have their own thing going, and I think they all sound great. Anyway, that's enough of me rambling. Please tell me what you think in the comments section below. Let's hear some sounds.